Hello everybody and welcome to a big red edition of How to Cut Up Fruits and Vegetables. Today we're going to do a summer classic, the biggest reddest fruit there is. That's right, it's a watermelon. First let me show you my setup here. I've got a great big cutting board with a groove in it to catch any juices. I've got a bowl here for the chunks. I've got another bowl here for the rind. And today I've got a thick knife because I want it to be more sturdy. It's not flexible. It's the longest knife I have. So I'm going to put this up here and let me show you how to pick out one. So I know it's really late in the summer to do a watermelon video, but there's partly a reason for that. The earliest watermelons you get are going to be from like southern Mexico, and as the season goes on they'll be from Texas and then further north because of the way that the seasons work and when they become ripe and available. This one is actually locally grown right here in Nebraska, so this should be really good because it didn't have to travel very far and it's really fresh. The way you would pick one out, the number one thing you want to look for is a big yellow spot like this. And what that means is that this watermelon had the chance to ripen while it was still sitting on the ground. If it doesn't have any spot at all, that means it got picked before it was even ripe and it's never going to get any better or sweeter. So the other thing we can see that makes this one really super duper fresh is if you look at the top here, you can see that's green. In most watermelons you'll find in the store that would be brown and dried out. And then the other thing we can look for is that it's really heavy, meaning it has a lot of water in it, heavy relative to other watermelons of the same size. And then if you do want to go, like tapping on it, it should have sort of a nice sort of vibrant ringing quality. So how am I going to cut this great big thing up? What I'll do is actually the same as I do for most fruits and vegetables, and I'm going to cut both ends off, then I'm going to cut the peel off, and then I'll cut it into chunks. If you just want slices, you can do, the old reliable, which is slice it down the middle, then go crosswise for slices. But I actually like to do it this way for chunks. The other way for chunks is to cut two halves, make a grid on the inside, and then kind of scoop them out with a big spoon. But I like this way better, so that's what I'm going to do. Cut off the top. I'm going to set that over there. I'm going to cut off the other side. And now this will sit flat when I go to take off the outside. So look at that, it already looks really nice. So now I'm just going to go around the outside and cut that off. A bigger knife would be helpful for this, but I just have this 10-inch knife. When I was in produce, we had a special watermelon knife that was about 12 inches long, and it had a flat tip so you couldn't stab yourself. This is actually a seeded watermelon rather than seedless. I don't think there's a really big preference on that. I was just curious to try this one. This is a heirloom variety called a Black Diamond, but they only come with seeds in them. But the seeds actually follow a pattern on the inside, so if you're cutting it up in chunks like this, it's actually pretty easy to get all the seeds out. This is going to be one of the longer videos, I guess, because of the size of the thing. There's one bigger fruit that I know of called a jackfruit, which is just gigantic. You can get that at an Asian market. So I flipped it over. I'm just going to clean around the parts I didn't get on this side. And now I can cut this into chunks. So the way I'll do that, you can do this like that way or the other way, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to cut down through the center. Now we should see how nice and pretty it is. This is a really great watermelon. I hope you can see how juicy and red that is. So now I just cut this, you know, I could cut it this way, then that way, or the other way around. Doesn't really matter. You can see what I'm doing. I'll just make a grid of this, and then I'll cut it the other way, and then we'll just make big chunks like that. So that's how to cut up a watermelon and pick one out. Hopefully you can find a really nice one like this, and they will be available generally later in the season. There is one other person in the house who really likes watermelon, so let's go find her. I haven't done a video for a couple months, so I'm sure you're all missing my dog. Hey, what's this? What's this? Oh, yummy. All right. Have a good autumn, everybody. I hope you can find a watermelon still. Bye.